Now, the United States has rejected a plan proposed by the Arab League for reconstruction and the future governance of Gaza. The first phase of the ceasefire is over, and Israel has suspended delivery of humanitarian aid into Gaza, though so far, active fighting, hasn't resumed. And reports have now emerged that the United States has been negotiating directly with Hamas over remaining American hostages, something it's never admitted to before. So, where does this leave the once vibrant Israeli and Palestinian peace movements? May Pundak and Rula Hardal serve as co-directors at the NGO A Land for All, which argues for a two-state confederation. They join me here in London. It is so good to have you here. We've spoken down the line, as we say, via satellite several times throughout these terrible past 16 months. And always energized by your commitment to togetherness and to hope and a vision. So, you've also, I have to say, you're also here to accept the Vivian Silver Award. She was the Canadian-born resident of a kibbutz, Be'eri. She was a well-known peace activist, and she was murdered in her home on October 7th. What does that mean to both of you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. It's wonderful to be here. Receiving this award is a reminder of the perseverance that we need to show right now in these very, very dark times. Vivian Silver was really such a trailblazer and such a light for all of us in showing that the only way to ensure both our identities, our separate identities, and our shared future and our shared security and safety in this homeland for Israelis and Palestinians is through a shared vision. And the fact that we are so honored and humbled to receive this award jointly in our work together is a true honor and a very reassuring.
And I was, really touched by the fact, first of all, we know it's the first time, but it's going to be awarded every year to two women, Arab and Jewish. That's something amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It's something amazing. It's also an indicator that there is a need for women political leadership also, not only when it comes to solving the conflict or speaking about peace or leading peace organizations, but also doing politics and have impact on the political decisions and the political sphere. I do feel honored to receive this award, but at the same time, I feel also sad. Because of two things. First of all, Vivian was trying to advocate for a political solution and for peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians for many years without real success. And the second point, it's this award actually reminds us on what's going on both sides since October 7th, which is
Which has been horrendous for everybody and all the world who's been watching, which is where you guys come in, because it is extraordinary to find people. I know there are grassroots movements, but you have been so, dedicated, and you keep working. You're Israeli Jewish. You are, I believe, Palestinian with Israeli citizenship. Yeah. That means you have a sort of a special status. You can come into Tel Aviv. You can work with May. But that also is a bit about how you view the possible solution, not a two-state solution as is already envisioned, but something different, a confederation.
Correct.
Tell me.
So what we normally say is that we're a two-state solution, but with a twist, or a two-state solution that can work. And that means that we call ourselves two states, one homeland. And so there are a few things that kind of differentiate us from the classic two states, which is, yes, we advocate for a two-state solution to sovereign, democratic, independent states in the 67 Green Line border, Israel and Palestine border, everything we know about the two states. And we recognize the shared homeland, meaning that at this point of time, Israelis and Palestinians are interdependent and intertwined and share so many challenges, but also share the future, shared natural resources. And that needs to be translated into the political vision. And that translates both into the needs and aspirations and attachments to the two people to the homeland, but also on very practical levels. And so when you think about public health, on combating things like COVID, or like polio diseases. We have to do that jointly. If you think about shared resources like water, the water and sewage of Gaza runs into the Mediterranean water, and then it gets to Tel Aviv the day after. You have to share these institutions, shared institutions, to tackle these things.
Can I ask you, is there a model? Has any other nation done this? I mean, is it a bit Switzerland or not? I mean, with the different federations, what's the model, or are you making it all up from whole cloth?
Yeah, we are inspired from different models, from several models in the history and in the world, but it's not the point. We are developing a specific model for the Israelis and the Palestinians. Of course, there are different models of confederation and shared institutions, and even if we are sitting here in London, and the United Kingdom is not anymore part of the EU, but the EU is a kind of another form of having shared institutions and shared mechanisms in order to have much more integration between sovereign independent states. But I would add to what Mai was saying about our model is that we start from recognizing the reality on the ground that we have two people, two national groups, and they have the right to claim their right for self-determination. And we start from this point of acknowledging that, and then we go to the practicalities of the solution, because it's important to emphasize that, because there is an ongoing long-term negation of the right of the Palestinian people for their right for self-determination.
And I actually find that part really interesting, because you have said, the both of you, it's part of your mandate, that yes, there are Palestinians who claim homes in areas that are in actual Israel proper. None of this is intended to, if they're refugees or whoever comes, to move people out of homes and swap people into homes.
Right.
So how does that work?
Right. So I think that what we're offering is really a model that is keeping the two-state solution in regards to equality, collective and individual equality, and the right for self-determination, and the attachment of both people to the entire homeland, meaning the shared attachment, but also the shared reality and the interdependency. And that means that what we're trying to do is change the reality on the ground, use the reality on the ground to get to a solution by reassuring the principles of equality and a shared future. And that means that we're aspiring for example, Jerusalem should be a shared capital. For example,
it was envisioned as that even under the last peace proposal.
And, and referring to your previous question, if we do learn from the EU, if we do learn from Northern Ireland, if we do learn from other conflicts that have been solved in a sustainable way, not perfect, but sustainable, where there's no more bloodshed, that goes to very tight cooperation and an understanding of shared interests and shared challenges met together.
Well, one of the big shared challenges is that it doesn't seem anybody is ready for this now, not your extremist politicians, and certainly not traumatized populations on both sides.
Yeah.
And so how do you get people, because it's going to be people who have to agree in the end, to do this?
Well, people need to agree. I fully agree with you, but at the same time, having or going toward a political solution and political settlement is a political decision. And it should start from the high level of having a political decision that we are ending the situation of, having a military control on other people and having this ongoing violence without doing any symmetry between the both sides, because, we cannot do this symmetry. But it's a political decision. We can wait another 100 years until people maybe on both sides can be ready or will be ready, but we don't have the luxury and the privilege to wait another 100 years. So we are trying, yes, to work on this level, to encourage people to have this shift, to believe that if they want to have a better future, they need to act for it and to think differently. But we need also, and we act actually on both political and diplomatic levels in the world and in Israel and in Palestine, because we need a political decision.
And what, again, it seems far away because your current government and the extremist coalition that supports it, and in the Palestine, I mean, there's no elections, there's no leadership, everything is just collapsed, basically, at the moment, and the United States has rejected the Arab proposal for Gaza in any event. When you guys work together in Israel, on the Palestinian side as well, how are you received? Do people even engage? Are they...
So I'll say two things. Number one, we are right now in an historic moment, both in the world entirely, when things are shifting around, also in the Middle East, and specifically in Israel, Palestine. And this shift leads us in this crisis and catastrophe to an opportunity. And we have to grab this opportunity. If we want to envision a future, a better future, a sustainable, prosperous future for Israel, Palestine, and for the Middle East entirely, the linchpin is the two-state solution, and a two-state solution that can work, that the two people desire and want a better future for our children and for our people. We agree on that. And so I think that that needs to be the focus of even the fact that we're feeling the trauma and the pain and the suffering and the anger and the revenge. People want peace. People want safety and security, and it's as simple as that. And even the polls show that as much as the two people are leading towards more radicalization and hatred and racism, at the same time, there's a growing and stable majority of people who understand that the only way to ensure our safety, and I'm talking now about the Israeli society, is through a regional security framework together with a Palestinian sovereign state as part of that.
Really? There are polls that are moving in that direction?
Yeah. And it's a solid poll.
And on your side?
On the Palestinian side? On the Palestinian side, we are witnessing also a much more shift and increasing percentage of people who are willing to go to the two-state solution and for a political settlement.
Okay, that is good news. That is good news. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Mai, I know you go by both, and Rula. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you, Christiane.
And congratulations on your award, too.
Thank you so much.